Well, it's Monday yet again. So fast, so soon. Yet here we are.
Welcome in, guys. Can't wait to tear
We
through some
are,
Q&A here.
yeah,
Good.
we're excited to answer some questions, dig in and chat a little bit about where you guys are at. Just as a reminder, we do this every single Monday. Typically, people are asking us questions as they join the group or people send in messages. If you have a direct question you want answered not live, technical, not technical, please shoot us a message, post it in the Facebook group, leave it on a comment. We are excited and happy to just give you as deep of an answer as we can provide in this venue. Obviously, we have other venues, resources, programs to go really, really deep with you. But, use us more often if you have it. So we're excited to dive in. As always, lots of questions about referrals. We've got some questions about brick and mortar locations today that we're excited to dive into. And we're going to kind of take it from there. There's probably about 7 or 8 people here who, again, are asking the question, a mix of, how do I gain cash pay clients, or what are the best referral sources for cash pay clients? I'm calling out you, Leslie, Britt, and a couple of other you who you know who are asking this question.
I think I'm gonna just lean in and say, guys, it's gonna come into just getting attention. We're seeing incredibly awesome attention get generated from Facebook advertisement, and if you just know how to generate and honestly set up these ads, you're gonna get plenty of people that you'll have lots of opportunities to be able to start conversations with and work out why or why not your business is or is not attracting the clients that you want.
Yeah.
Honestly, like we're seeing people who are getting between $3 and $12 leads on Facebook for cash pay practices, and that's plenty of opportunities for them to get to talk to a lot of individuals.
Yeah. And I think a lot of business owners, when they are first starting out, and I don't even want to just say therapists, but just business owners in general, they struggle to answer the question on, well, why are people buying this essentially same exact product from this person down the road versus buy it from me? And there's always a reason. Oh, they ran ads, or oh, they have more foot traffic at their location, or oh, they had this sponsor partnership, whatever you want to point to. But any brand or any product, from everyday usage to luxury process, has figured out how to get on the shelf, get in front of, start a conversation in order to be successful. And so we have seen multi-million dollar cash pay practices go from zero to that size. And the same thing for insurance practices. It's a different mechanism, but they've figured out how to make it work. So step one, we know you can do it too. You just might need some help, in a really direct way, figuring it out along the way. But number two, on sort of a referral source front, you might just not be good enough yet. And that might sound weird and not as like a put down, but your branding, the way you talk in language for your ideal client, how you show up on listing sites, the quality of your Facebook ads, the process, the whole, how often you follow up. There's tiny little things that the more you do, the big mix of them eventually adds up for you to have a complete roster. I used the analogy earlier today of almost like it's a paint by number. And you slowly have to like learn how to mix your paints and get the color tones you want and fill it in. And some people are better at than others, but the only way to get good at that is to do it. You typically can only off the shelf get certain colors of paint. If you want tones in the middle, you got to innovate, and you got to mix your own color if you want to be able to paint with it. So we're telling you to run Facebook ads because a lot of our practice owners are having a lot of success with Facebook ads, but we also hear all the time, oh, I didn't get any results from Facebook ads. Part of our process, our program, is helping our practice owners sort of get the correct shade of coloring that they need with their Facebook ads and have success with it to kind of cut that down. But I just want you to encourage you to like dig in deep. And it's not exactly new referral sources. Another person today, she was like, well, you just told me all the things that I'd heard about already to market clients. And I'm like, yeah, like, doesn't that kind of suck? She's like, yeah, because we have to go deeper and be more correct in that venue to get the result out of it. I don't know. Another individual, let me see if I can grab the correct. Is it necessary to do office to office marketing to doctor's office?
No, not necessary. We
No.
see lots of clinics that don't do that. And in fact, a lot of the time, it doesn't work that well. You have to talk to like thousands of doctors' offices, and usually a lot of clinicians don't have the patience or the energy to make that happen on an ongoing basis. And so, quite frankly, unless you have a big platform, it doesn't make sense for you to try to reach out to these offices. And really, if you have a friend or two that you can connect with, that might be the best entry point, and just sit on that. But otherwise, no, it's totally not necessary. I think the most necessary, if we're like building out prioritization, the most necessary is going to be your directories, because those are really, really cheap, low hanging fruit, and you have a chance to really fill caseload off of a directory. And then after that, we typically recommend paid advertisement of some form of fashion. So pay to play, pay to get in front of people that can make a good decision on what you've got. And then after that, do things that are more content focused, more publishing heavy, that allow you to kind of flex your authority and knowledge muscles and get attention in that way. Once you
Yeah.
get through all of that, then you get to talk a little bit more about the offices and doctors, uh, those kinds of strategies.
Yeah. And the last thing that I'd say is the point of volume is to increase your chances of building a relationship with someone who actually wants to reciprocate. The only other way to do that is very much not volume. You put your 5 doctors on the board that have your people, and you stop at nothing until they are referring you to you indefinitely, right? So that's daily, weekly, monthly follow-up connection. Invite them out to dinner, whatever it is that you need in order to build that relationship, because that's the whole point, is to build the relationship. And either volume is going to take care of it, or volume on a single person is going to take care of it. But either way, it's volume that wins the game there. We have a little bit of a longer sort of contextual question. Jennifer is asking us, essentially, she has a telehealth practice specializing in neurodivergent children. She wants to open up a physical location. All of her current clients are way too far away to travel in, and she seems like she doesn't have, like, for that specific of a niche, the direct in-person population to make that happen. And she wants to figure out how she should find new clients if she does want to open up an in-person location, because she'd rather serve this population with in-person clients instead.
Gotcha. I think I think maybe there's two ways to kind of look at this. And I think the way that I'm going to take is what's best for the business. And if you're running a business to run a successful business, then you may need to maybe put some of these wants aside for a little bit until you have a larger sustainable business that can afford, without question, essentially the location to be able
Yeah.
to fulfill in the way that you want. And I'm talking like without question, right? Yeah, we'll just get an office, we'll fill it up, it'll be easy, that's fine. The other end is what is it that you want to do? How do you want to serve? And I think this is where the conundrum comes in, where it's like, this is counterintuitive because maybe it's not the best business decision. This is counterintuitive because maybe it's riskier than if you just continued along your path and got a few more clinicians and just kind of grew it that way. And so I think when you look at doing things like that and open up the local place, I think to get ahead of the curve, start doing some local ads or start putting together some more local marketing and see if it works before you launch your practice. I think it's really easy to just test the area, especially with ads. Um, and if you have access to the office or the office's location, you can set up like a Google My Business a little bit earlier, and then just kind of test the area, test what it's like in the area, a 5 or 10 mile radius around maybe where you're looking, and see what the market is kind of responsive to.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to just drop a little pin, do a 5 or 10 mile radius, whatever's drivable. 15 minutes away from that office space, and then just kind of test.
Yeah. I think essentially the try before you buy, try before you get the office space is a great idea because you can run ads right now and just still to serve the clients online. You could also start local SEO for your city or your town right now and then make this move 6 to 12 months later once you're generating leads off of the keywords that matter for you at that point. And then the last thing is look at population density. We have a lot of practice owners who live out in very rural areas. They have towns of 300 people. And it's like, okay, there's 10,000 total people that, live in a 50, 60-mile radius. So most of them, aren't going to travel in. And then within that population, how many of them are neurodivergent children seeking therapy? And so just be really honest with yourself. I live downtown Chicago. I'm not going to have a hard time as long as I advertise correctly finding enough people to fill a single caseload or a couple clinicians caseload for that niche of a topic. But if your population density isn't there, you're never going to win this fight. So you're kind of forced to do online no matter what. But the best thing is to try it now before you pull the trigger on something, because if you can get a full caseload of people that are local to your area by just advertising now, well, then you can, without question, be like, great, as soon as I open it up, they'll all just come in person. We're good to go. Lily asks us, insurance panels, worth it? Or are there better ways to see clients who may be financially unable to pay out of pocket?
I think so many try to look for like a definitive answer. To be honest with you, I don't think that there's a difference between cash pay and insurance. Actually, after working with you guys for 5 years, I've been very like separatist for a while, where it's like they're very different, they're very unique, but they're not. To be honest with you, everything is kind of the same. And the reason why I'm coming to this conclusion now is insurance is just a way to create convenience for people who want to pay with insurance. And so, this convenience factor and this like payment, this like pay, like actual dollars and cents pay, um, is really the angles that you're playing with when it comes to insurance. And so, is it worth it? Yes, but so is cash. And then, is cash worth it over insurance? Yes, right. So they both have pros and cons, and I think you just have to roll with what you got and what and how you want to serve, and then what are you going to be proud of at the end of the day. Because both are going to make amazing businesses, and it's just slightly different problems that you're solving for. So when you get to be convenient with insurance, then private pay has the angle of being more custom and more geared like out of the box, and more you can create different angles for convenience. So I think just don't overthink it. Just make a good business for yourself and commit to how you want to serve. And then as far as like any other ways to serve individuals, not in the insurance space, and people who are like maybe underserved or don't have the cash, I think the best way to serve those individuals is to create a thriving practice for yourself, and then do whatever the heck you want with those people. Give free sessions. You can do free groups. You can do whatever it is that you want. So I think it's on the other side of running a thriving practice, and you certainly can't start your business with maybe people who can't pay, but you can end your business with people who can't pay. And
Yeah.
so cash is the oxygen here. And so figure out how to make that system work for you, and then serve the people however you want to serve them.
Yeah. And if cash flow isn't doing it for you on insurance, there's actually a lot of great ways to increase your value per client. You can add other services that are adjacent to the one-on-one therapy sessions. You can do groups. You could become an author. You could do other things that, by having a stable influx of new clients, can fuel other sources easily. And then you can put your time and attention towards those things because it's easier to get maybe an insurance-based caseload rather than have to slow down and figure out the marketing and sales and other things for a cash pay practice. But it's up to you. Build the business that serves you short term and then long term. And you can always change your mind later to a degree.
Yeah, it might be a mess, but but you can do
Yeah.
it.
Elena asks us, how niche Do I have to be marketable? I think this is a great question because I'm a therapist too. I'm a therapist who serves, super, super, super niche. Somewhere in the middle of there is a marketable practice.
Yeah, I think how big of a business do you want is a question that we need to have answered here, because if you want a really big business, you can't do that in a super small niche. Um, and if you're okay with a small business, then maybe it's okay that you have a really really small niche. I never know how to say it. Niche.
It's
So do sort of like a calculation, figure out what business is going to make you really happy. Niches exist. I think the biggest benefit for niches isn't necessarily the fact that you're niched and like you now specialize and now you can perform better services for individuals. I think it's just the speed and energy it takes to figure out how to get something to work for someone. And it's easier to figure out how to get something to work for someone when you have a very, very clear picture of who that someone is. And so niching to me is a function of speed, and niching is a function of figuring it out for the first time, versus niching to be marketable, because anyone is marketable. We see group practices that are ultra generalist be really marketable, and we see solos that are ultra generalist be marketable, and we also see super niched individuals be really marketable. And so I think get out of your head, figure out what you actually want from your business, and then move to saying, can I do that thing with this market?
yeah.
um,
And the only thing that I'd follow that up with is as niche as you can go and still consistently get in front of your target audience will probably be okay. Okay, if I can call out and consistently get my ad in front of single moms who are X, Y, and Z, maybe that will work really well for you. But if you can't do that, right? If there's not enough single moms struggling with X, Y, and Z and no ad listing site profiles or whatever keyword searches in the world are going to pragmatically, consistently ping them, it's going to take a really long time to build the word of mouth network to generate you a full consistent caseload from that, right? So that's kind of it. Are people searching for that already? Is there some indication to start the conversation? Can I create the conversation? And if I can, you can probably niche to that degree to it, to an extent. Well, we are going to do one more quick question here and then call it a day. Should I sign up for online directories like Psychology Today? So I think whenever Attilio and I talk about this, the short answer is always yes. The long answer typically still ends up in being yes, but with a couple of caveats. These listing site profiles is what we would talk about as low hanging fruit. They have the propensity to generate inquiries and leads for a lot of people in the marketplace. I'd say that they are a pretty big cornerstone for how most therapists get a good number of their clients. We talk to any therapist in our program or outside of their program, and Psychology Today is typically the number one commonality point, other than the fact that they're licensed, right? um, and that's because to a degree they work. Now, for many, many, they don't work or they don't get as many as they'd like. But bottom line, if you spend $300 in Psychology Today, of course, across an entire year, you only need one client to successfully convert and stay for 3 to 5, 3 to 10 sessions. And the likelihood of you getting one client from that is high. You just have to look at it as a long-term investment into the practice if your profile isn't converting at a very high degree. Now, there's lots of things that you can do. Recently we did a great interview with Ryan from mentalhealthmatch.com. Regardless of that listing site specifically, he shared a very data-driven approach, 6 tips that really increase the conversions on profiles for Psychology Today or any listing site. So I definitely go and check that out if you're like, man, how do I get better results from this? But make a long story short, the math adds up. You only need to get one client from the website. And maybe if you track it really closely, after 12 months, you truly don't get a single client. Well, maybe you get rid of it at that point. But I think almost every practice owner we talk to, they get at least one client across a 12-month period from a listing site that they're on. So it's usually worth it because then you can probably get more than one client. Some of our practice owners stay almost full off of a couple listing sites, and others, they get one client a year.
Yeah. The only thing I'll have to add here is I think you said it really well. Um, some people don't get as much as they want from the site. And I think when we have this preference about how much we want, we get let down, right? And so I think for some of these platforms that we don't control, right? You don't own Psychology Today, you can't control how frequently you're shown. It can be a little bit frustrating sometimes, especially when you hear really good success stories of other people who are really successful or succeeding on the platform. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? Truth is, you're probably not doing anything wrong. It's just sometimes you get shown a little bit more and sometimes you get shown a little bit less. And it's just the algorithms and the timing and whatever's going on inside of the platform that's kind of running it. And so um, our solution has always been to find a path that you control.
Yeah.
Find a platform that you control, something like ads, where you can spend more dollars to get more leads or more inquiries, or something like organic, where you can write more blogs, you can do more videos, you can publish more content, and you can get more people. And so some of these platforms, you just don't have that option. And so the directories, like Josh said, it's a good play. More often than not, they're profitable. More often than not, you're going to get some people off of there. You might just have to extend your time horizon and reset your expectations for what is success on this platform and what's actually reasonable for how much you're paying. Um, because I think ultimately $30 to get a few clients here and there is a really, really good deal. It's a steal. And I think as mental health practices, as private practices, we super undervalue what's actually coming to us from that platform. And we're not maybe grateful sometimes for what it's actually producing and providing for with what little resources it is receiving from us.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything to add there. Some great thoughts on whether you should be on a listing site. Yeah, you probably should.
Yeah. Well, guys,
We'll
thanks so
catch you
much.
next time.